This week's Torah reading is a combined portion, Matot, Masei, which is going to bring us to the end of the Book of Numbers. Book of Numbers, which is in Hebrew Bamidbar, means in the wilderness. So we know that it records events that took place while we were wandering in the desert. That's what we refer to, wandering in the desert. And we make jokes about it, well, Moses was lost. Why was he lost? Because he was a man who refused to ask directions. Otherwise, we would have got to the land of Israel so much more quickly than he did. But there's a dispute about that. This week's Torah reading has a list of places that the people of Israel went to in the desert. Now, quite frankly, it's a travelogue, but without the benefit of video or pictures or even great descriptions. Somebody invites you, wants to show you the pictures from their trip. Okay, at least there's pictures, a little excitement. This is not exciting. This I can assure you. And the names of the places are not totally familiar. Many of them we don't know where they were or exactly what their existence was based upon. But it's a travelogue. This is where they went from place to place. So the question is asked, why does the Torah take all this time to list all these places? Why don't they say they wandered in the wilderness for this period of time? So there are different suggestions. One suggestion is, it's a fascinating idea. It's the opposite of what we would think. It was to show us that the people of Israel were not wandering. They were going from place to place. They knew exactly where they were. They knew the geography. They were there because it was God's plan for them to develop a community and a new generation that would have the enthusiasm, the foresight, and the determination at the land of Israel, which the parents' generation who came out of Egypt didn't. So it wasn't a question of we're wandering, we don't know what we're doing. No, there's a specific purpose. This was the route, this was the plan, this is what was necessary to create and formulate a nation that would be prepared to enter the land of Israel. So that's one approach that is taken. That's by Moses Maimonides, by Rambam. Rashi, the great commentator, is totally different. He says this: the reason each place is mentioned is because they didn't want the people of Israel to forget how miserable the wandering in the desert was. We went from here to there to there. Remember those places? No good hotels. Food wasn't that great. A whole different approach. In other words, don't forget where you came from, right? And why does he take that approach? Because it did happen. The people of Israel were in the desert, and they were scared about entering the land of Israel, so they start talking about Egypt, right? Oh, Egypt. Oh, what a land. Remember the food? Remember the plentiful food? Remember how wonderful it was in Egypt? What are you talking about? You were slaves. They were beating you. That's why you left. So people have a tendency to look to the past and to see it in a way that's not really true because they're afraid to go towards the future. So they make the past into something it really wasn't. We do that often today. Yes, the 50s are good. I remember the 50s. I was young then, but I remember the 50s. But there are many things that weren't great about the 50s. There are many things that, in terms of medicine, in terms of communication, in terms of our education, it may have not been as good as we believe it was. It was the beginning of the Cold War. There was tremendous fear and confrontation. I remember as a child, they were talking about nuclear weapons. They wanted us to learn how to defend ourselves and hide from a nuclear weapon. It was an absurd concept. But I remember doing drills in case Russia was going to attack us. So we have a tendency to look backwards because of our fear of going forward. And that's what Rashi says. They listed every place to remind the people of Israel, don't make into a dream what you just went through. God took care of you, gave you food, he gave you water, he gave you clothing. This was not ideal. This was a wilderness. It's not a place to build a family and a community for the future. So don't idealize it. Look at it for the reality that it was, and look forward, because the future is going to be better. You're going to be on your own land, and this will be your home, and you will build your nation there. It's a reminder for every people, for every family, for every person who has a little bit of fear about moving forward. Looking to the future has to be one with hope, with anticipation, and with firm belief. And even if where we came from was very good, we have to know that it can be better in the future. We have to know that we can build a better future. The Jewish people are extremely optimistic. The Bible is extremely optimistic. This is why it looks towards a Messianic era. Things are getting better. There'll be times when we backslide, but we have to believe in the future. That's critical to the survival of any nation. It's critical to the American people, it's critical to the Jewish people, it's critical to Israel. You have to believe your future is great. And that's why, according to commentators, it was in detail. to remind us the desert period was not a glorious period. The past has good things, but the future can be brighter. And don't look to the past in order to deny yourself that possibility of moving forward into the future. It's a great personal lesson for all of us. It's a great lesson for our community, for our nation. Move forward with confidence, respect the past, learn from the past, but don't get trapped in it. And so, as we go through this Torah reading, we're ready soon to begin the next book of Deuteronomy, which will look forward to a people in its own land, with its own law, with its own institutions, and with freedom, and with an identity. And that's how the book of Numbers ended. Looking back, and then preparing for the future. It's a great way for each of us to approach our lives, to juxtapose the past with the future, learn from the past, and look forward to building a brighter future. Shabbat Shalom.